Hello and welcome to another extra. Today we're going to talk about exposing info view or data metadata that's inside your elements in Sparx. Special thanks to J.A. Horseman 92 who asked, what is a way of editing compartments so they show version number? And I just thought this was an amazing question. And so we're going to show you how to do that in today's video. We're also going to show you an alternate way, but that's more advanced. So let's get started. So here we have 4 different types of UML elements: a class element from the toolbox, an object element that came from another toolbox, a process element that came from another toolbox, and a use case element that came in from another toolbox. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with a class element. We're going to right click on this. We're going to go to Appearance, Enable Info View. And what it does is it changes the shape to a rounded rectangle with a class element icon on the upper right, the name of the class, the type of element. And let's double click in here, and it is version 01, right? And what we're going to do is we're going to right click again, go to Appearance, go to Info View Properties. And you get this dialog box where you can show things like version, status, phase, author, and so on. But the question was around version, so let's just expose version in this information view. And there you go. It's just as easy as that. Now, if you want to do all the elements that are in your diagram, you can hold down the right. Well, first off, you can just hit Control A and it selects everything. Or you can hold down the left mouse button, select everything that you want, right click on any element, and you'll see appearances down here, enable info view. And you'll notice it changed the object to the default object color, again, rounded rectangle. And then we already had turned on the information view to show version. And then on process, you can see this is a process element, and it's a rounded rectangle as an icon, not the real shape of the process, but that's good enough. And we've enabled info view to show the version number, and then use case, the same thing, right? And you can always go back to the default shape and view just by selecting everything or hitting Control A in here to select everything for you. Right click on any element. Again, appearance is showing up when you select more than one down here. And then we're going to uncheck Enable Info View. And now they're back to their original shape. The alternate method deals with tagged values. So let's just bring the property window out here, float it just to the right of these. And let's go to tag value. So we select an element, we go to tags. We've already put in a tag in here for version, and you can customize your tags any way you want. Talk about that in another video. And we've put the version number here. All right. So what we can do is just double click anywhere in the diagram, go to elements and say, hey, I want to see tag values. By default, attributes, operations, receptions, and package contents are checked, but tags are not. Let's go ahead and hit OK. So here we see tag values for the class element, the object element, but we don't see tags for the process or use case. So it works on many elements. I mostly focus on class elements and object elements. But if we go to a process element and we go to tags, you can see that we have the same tag value in here. It's just not showing up. Again, this is an advanced subject. I talk about this approach in Model Driven Anything video series. I tend to use tag values and not necessarily the properties. By default, I use the properties, especially version number, for something else. So here's version number in the standard properties window. So I show you in another video, the reason we do versioning is if we're making significant changes. I tend to do versioning when I'm setting or we've committed to a particular state or stage or status of an element. So I use the inside as I'm doing design to set my version. So I'm doing design, I'm brainstorming, and I go, okay, here's the first approach, version 0.1. Here's the second approach, 0.2. And then we will get to a review session, which approach works, and then say, oh, we like the third option that you had. And what I will do in tag values is then set a version number of 0.2, because everything starts at 0.1. You could certainly leave it at 0.1 once you've had a review. But the cool thing about using tag values that you can't do in the properties per se is you can go to notes. So you can actually write notes here that we had a review session and then whatever the date was, right? Date and time for it. And you can put intelligence next to your tags that you can't do per se in this particular default approach. Now, I say per se for a reason because, well, you could certainly put information here. You could put a linked document in here. And then in that linked document, you could put history and other information that led up to design. I'm going to go ahead and close that. Now I have this little icon here, and I can always remove that. Again, advanced subject, but I did want to make sure I touched on it. Otherwise, we're just going to focus on the fact that info view is extremely powerful, that allows you to do a lot of things to expose the element in presentations and discussions that you're having. So if you're having a whiteboard session or review session, you can go in and on the info view properties, you can put, well, what phase does this apply to? What author made these changes or do something? And you can certainly put tag values as well. Let's go ahead and hit OK. So now you have a lot of information that's in here, but we're seeing the version number down here, which is, we go to tag values, is 0.2. Yet the element version is 0.1. If we go back to general, you can see it's 0.1. And this might be confusing to some. You might want to come up with a different tag value name because you can't alter the name in the default Sparx configuration. Lots of different approaches to change what the compartment data or intelligence looks like in any given element, with some limitations when it comes to process or use case. Let's go ahead and change process as an example, enable info view. So we see this down here, and we could go in here and we could go in and here and show tag values. So let's go into info view properties. Let's go ahead and do tag values, and let's do phase and author like we did above. Now we look at it. Now we're exposing the tag values. And so when I'm looking at this element, I'm going to change the tag value here to 0.2. I'm going to hit OK. And you can see here, and I inadvertently put a backslash in there. There we go. Now I can see the tag value exposing info view in the compartment. All right, I hope this extra video was helpful for you. Sparx, again, I have to say, is extremely powerful. You can pick and choose what you want to show info view on and what you don't want to show info view on. In this case, we have tag values being exposed. We can go to elements. We can turn off. You have all sorts of approaches to exposing your intelligence in visual diagrams. So thanks very much for watching. And thank you for the question. It was a great question. I've got videos where I talk about this, but they're embedded in a much longer conversation. It was nice to focus purely on this subject. So until that next session, happy modeling.